Good afternoon, folks. This is the first part of a little mini series of videos about the drill or not drill dilemma about the front fork dampers. So I'm going to start it here. I'm going to post them as I work on the project. So the first thing is I've ordered 2 replacement damping rods, which I shall have as backup, and then I'm going to remove, as I said in my previous video, the original damper tubes that are in the bike. I'm going to show some close-ups of the hole, then I'm going to drill it, and then I'm going to put it back in. Now, to facilitate this process, I have started to make this object of beauty, and it is a good hefty metal rod which I've actually removed from the middle of that cable drum. It holds them together. There's 4 of them. Annoyingly, I had 4 of these rods that I'd kept for ages, and the other day I thought, oh, I don't need these, I'll just take them to the recycling centre and chuck them in the skip, which I did, and then I found I need a rod, damn it. So I took it out of that cable drum, and I realised that I've missed my vocation in life, because I've used my Frankenstein welding machine, which I'll show you in the next video, to make this. Now look at that weld. Isn't that brilliant? Neat, tidy. That will probably make many people extremely envious. I should have been a professional welder. But there we go, it'll do the job. It's a big long rod, and at the end of it, at the moment, is a nut on the end of it, which I'm going to modify. It's nicely rusted on from the cable drum, so I'm going to modify that once I find the exact shape or size that it needs to be to fit into the damper rod when they arrive, which should be in the next couple of days. So there it is. We're starting it. And I'll be reversing all the work I've done to put the YSS kit in. I've also ordered a rattle gun, you know, a battery cordless impact driver thing, and it has a 1/2-inch drive on it, and I've ordered a 1/2-inch socket with an 8mm hex, you know, Allen key basically on the end of this socket, so it'll go in the bottom of these forks there. Once the axle's out, up there, and it'll hopefully a combination of a rattle gun and that thing of beauty should mean that I can get the dampers out. If all goes wrong and something terrible happens, then I've got spare dampers, and I'll be carrying out a test. Now, I've done a lot of miles on this now since I put the YSS kit in. I did notice today, going through on country roads, doing a good 60-70 actually on some of them, safely, I hasten to add. The damping is not so good at speed. Now, somebody's mentioned that in the comments. JC, I think it was, said, you know, you'll lose your damping at high because it's the sweet spot of 30 miles an hour where you get the best effect if you don't drill. Now, I think I may concur with that, because when I went out today, I did notice that bumps, it wasn't possibly as good as it could be on larger bumps at speed. So I'll be interested to know if that was just because of the bumps or because the dampers haven't been drilled. Looking at the delivery times on the stuff I've bought, it should be, I think, probably Thursday, Friday of this week, hopefully, that I'll get the rattle gun and the Allen doodah and the dampers. So I should be in a position to do that this week. And I'm going to post an honest appraisal as to whether or not drilling those dampers makes a difference. Now, as people have realised, I'm not a suspension expert particularly. You know what they say about the word expert? An X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. So maybe I am an expert according to that definition. But if I notice the difference with drilling, I'll say so. If I don't notice any difference and say, well, I can't tell the difference, it doesn't mean to say there isn't one. It just means to say that I'm not tuned in enough to see the difference. And I'm, you know, pretty average rider, you know, so I think if it were good enough for me undrilled, I'm sure it'd be fine for everybody else, most people. However, I'm going to give a definitive version of this. We're going to find out once and for all, does drilling these dampers with the YSS fork kit on this bike make a discernible difference? So there we are. I just thought I'd post that to let people know that I'm on with it, and also to show off my welding skills. I mean, don't get envious, everyone, please. Not everybody can be as good as that. And don't be bothered if you're not. Look at that. And I'll put some photos at the end of this video of the welding machine that I used. It's basically, well, you'll see it. It's an old stick welder, but it does the job for rough stuff. And I'll post as soon as I get any bits and any developments. And in the meantime, if you're like me, you'll be out on your bike at any excuse. If so, take care, ride safe, and I will be posting very, very soon, I hope. Bye for now. Right, now here is Franken welder. This is an old stick welder that I had for years. It's one of these with a box, you know. You can do probably about a minute and a half welding with it, and then it stops because they get hot. So it got very, very annoying. Now this is for those devotees of health and safety. As you can see, this is a safe device. I took the outer casing off it. On the right hand side you'll see there's a 240 volt computer cooling fan, and these Doctor Who type fins stuck on it are actually heat sinks, and there's 3 of them off old computers. They are CPU cooling fin things, which I've glued on to around the coil, the bit that gets hot when you weld. And at the back of it, if you look there, you can just see a wire going to it, is the 240 volt computer fan. And do you know what? You can weld all day with it now. There it is, switched on, look, looking safe. All day you can weld with it without it cutting out. And it's good enough for rough stuff, agricultural welding. I've done some better stuff with it. Here it is. There is the special tool in the process of being fabricated by me last night. And it will definitely do the job. As you can see, pretty basic. However, you know, if I had a oxyacetylene welding kit, I could do a fantastic job on it. I'm not so sure about MIG welding and things, never done that, but oxyacetylene, loads of it. So there it is, look, it's good enough, and as you've seen in the video earlier, it's in process. So my little stick welder really is really handy for things like that. You've just got to make sure that you don't go near it, the actual box. You know, a bit of fun using it. I think if I'd got a cat, if my cat was still alive, I wouldn't really use it with a cat there in case it stuck its nose in it. And there it is. I'm proudly displaying my welding efforts. I did it last night, and I posted the video that you've seen earlier this morning. I did that this morning. So that was last night, and all I need to do is shape the end of it now once the damper rod arrives, and I can make sure it'll work. And I'll post an update as we go along. Better than Colombo, somebody said. Well, that's really nice of you to say so. As I mentioned in the comments, with Colombo, we always knew the solution before the start of the programme, didn't we? Right at the beginning. So, unfortunately, in this particular case, it is following a more traditional pattern of detective movies where you find out at the end whether you were right. Hopefully, you know, we'll see. But it will bottom it out one way or the other. So there it is, and I'll post these in part 1, 2, 3 and so on until it's all done. In the meantime, take care everybody, ride safe, and I will post updates as and when.